So the New World devs have been on Discord again, and there's some very interesting topics that they discuss, including guild halls, the gear rework, Outpost rush, and way more. So let's jump in and let's talk about it. Not overly thrilled that it's on Discord rather than, say, the forums, but I can only work with what I have. So there's actually quite a few questions. We're just going to do them in order when I think it's relevant. So the first question is, will there be more story quests for this season or upcoming seasons? 1 hour of quest content for 90 days seems a little bit sparse, and that's true. Basically, the quest was fun, but it was a little bit short. And they say, we'll be adding a new storyline in season 2 with the season cross assisting a new client. Obviously, they'll have more details when they get closer to season 2. We've listened to your feedback, and one of the notes that we saw from you all was that you wanted a longer quest line. So we took that to heart, and that's what they're doing. I hope it's sort of longer but enjoyable, because it was short, but I don't just want it to be filler. The next question is, could we get an aptitude system for seasons? So basically, if you go to season 101, you just get a little bit of a reward. And that's something that they say isn't coming within season 1 or 2, but it is something that they are interested in adding in the long term. So that's like a yes, but not right now. And then this question is interesting. They say, any chance we could see more 5-player trials? It would be great to see at least one for each mob type. Now, if I'm honest, I literally think to this day, I still haven't done a 5-player trial. It is something I really need to do, but my interest in them is just sort of limited. I just don't really have any reason to do it, apart from maybe the season pass now. But they do say that while they're not going to do 5-player trials in season 2, they are going to do a seasonal trial, which will basically be a 10-player expansion. Not expansion, a 10-player raid. The expansion we're going to talk about in a minute. Are there any plans for invasions? Would love to see other mob types increasing the difficulty proportional to the turn level. Such an underexplored mode. There's a ton of potential for great PvE interactions, but it falls short. Shortening the buy phase, less time at the start, improving difficulty to match the player's current gear score, etc. Now they do say we have some upcoming changes to invasions in season 2 to streamline the experience and to reduce downtime. So that's one of the things right now. Like if you join, you have to wait like 15 minutes. It's just a little bit weird. And then the question is, who's even getting into them? It's just a bit janky. But they actually literally tell us some of the changes they're going to make. The pre-match time has been drastically reduced. We have shortened the total duration of the invasion itself. Great. Like, is it 30 minutes? It's just way too long. The earlier waves are now shorter but have increased their intensity for a smoother ramp up in difficulty. Quite simply, you could probably ditch the first half of the invasions, like the first waves. There's just no point to them. The time between the final spawn in a wave and the start of the next wave has been shortened as well. Great, there's no point waiting around. The only thing that people really doing there are sort of repairing walls, but I mean, who really cares? And the next question is, what plans do you have for improving the guild system? If you have plans, when will they come? So they say they've got a number of improvements planned, big and small. We want to add a transaction log for the treasury. I know I saw a post on Reddit where somebody was complaining that they had the gold like stolen. They didn't know who it was because there's no transaction log. They do say that we'd like to raise the number of players more, like increase the limit, but if they do that, they need to be worried about the number of territories one company can own, because at the minute, even with the current changes, there's certain like companies on Barry that are just owning many territories, and it's a little bit weird. It goes against what they want. Longer term, eventually we want to build a company progression system that allows company leaders to set goals and track contributions for each members. This is where I really need to get bigger on Twitch. You should come and follow me. We would like to get at least some quality of life items to the players by the end of this year, but the larger items will need to wait until after our cross-world activity finder feature, which is going to be complete around the holidays. Christmas if you're English. Are there any plans for a sandbox mode so you can test things? There are no plans to create like a sandbox mode that'll give you like developer-like abilities. Quite simply, that's a good idea because I have no confidence that it wouldn't somehow result in dupes. Now, what's interesting, this question actually doesn't specify PTR, but they're sort of answering like it is the PTR. I guess it makes sense. If you were going to test anything, you test it on the PTR, but maybe players actually want to test it with the actual gear. Now, this whole section is just talking about how they have better backstories now, which is true. They do have better backstories, but it's a little bit weird you don't actually just have your stuff. But then they go on to say at some point in the future, we would like to offer a character copy service, which would literally take your live character and put it on the PTR, but it's not something they're actively working on right now. But that would be good to see. It would very much enable better testing. Some of the issues we can't really find because you can't really test it. The next question is simple. Are you going to add more animations to make it feel smoother? Yeah, over time they're going to do it if they can. Now, this was a very important question. Are there any plans to add company housing? Well, we talk about it often along the same lines here. We feel this would be best paired with the company progression system, which then could hook into the seasonal structure in really cool ways. However, this is a long-term thing, but this sounds like there's something they're actually going to work on. So it sounds like we will get like company halls, like guild halls. Really cool, really fascinating. But it's going to be tied into that company progression system, which is pretty cool. The next question, will there be emojis? yeah, at some point we're probably going to do emojis. Literally don't care, but if it helps people in multiple languages, fair enough. The next question is about offensive and defensive siege weapons. So, you know, if you're in Outpost Rush or War, I don't think they're necessarily getting overused. I don't know about War. I don't do Wars, not done a War in absolutely forever. However, in Outpost Rush, they're very niche. And what they say is, in Season 2, the siege weaponry is getting a change. They're going to buff the siege weapons, and especially the independent ones in the center. And they're hoping that that will create more strategic decisions, and then they'll see how that plays out before they do anything with wars. Fair enough, sounds cool. The next question is, can you give us a time estimate when we can expect a new Outpost Rush map and game modes? I won't read the rest of the question, but the answer is, we have some updates for Outpost Rush in Season 2, but it's mainly just changing what we currently have. So it's changes to the game mode and improving the score system, as well as increasing strategic options with the changes to the turrets and stuff like that. And the portal event, which at the minute I literally just ignore. My worry is that you just add too much PvE to a PvP mode, but you know, whatever, let's just see what we get. And they are going to add a barrier to the Baroness, so you literally just can't be sniped. That is a little bit frustrating when you just get sniped from absolutely like miles away on the map, but it's also a really good feeling if you get the snipe. Now they say no plans we can discuss around a second Outpost Rush map, but I mean, they've said that they're going to do it, so it is going to happen. It's just a case of when. Or a new mode, that'll happen at some point, we just don't know when. Presumably after the cross-world stuff. And then the next question I find very interesting because it sort of goes against what we thought. And the next question is, are we going to see new perks? Or are we going to see any other major changes to general gearing anytime soon? And it's really this question that perks up my interest. So they say that with Season 3, they're pretty much just going to rework the existing perks. They may add a handful, but that's not really what they're planning. But it's the last thing that sort of I'm happy to see. There will be some changes to gearing coming in Season 3 with the gear score increase, but we're not ready to discuss those changes yet. We are timing the perk rebalance to occur with those changes so that we can combine the gear disruption to a single event. Now, what are we talking about here? So let me draw your attention to this, the 2023 New World Roadmap, and specifically we are looking at fall. Now, I had this query that basically I was saying that this is chronological, so it's Season 3 and then the expansion. That's the way my brain interprets this. But that is now sort of being thrown a little bit into doubt. And in this Season 3 patch, we're going to get the perk rebalance. But they're now saying that this is going to come at the same time as the gear score increase. Now, that might be the case. If that is the case, does this mean Season 3 and the expansion are coming at the same time? Or does it mean that the perk rebalance has actually been pushed to the expansion? You know, I literally don't know. I guess it sort of could be that they're just being combined, and it's my foolish mistake to think that actually they're not two separate things. It would make a lot more sense to combine them. And if I'm honest, that would get me more excited than you can imagine for one simple reason. The territory influence updates are coming. Now, we all know what this is going to be. It's going to be several points on the map that you have to go and contest, and that's going to make you get in the influence quicker. But my view was that they're not going to change the overall territory system and the war system or anything like that, the gold distribution from PvP, rechange it in an expansion. So I have a little bit more hope that they're going to combine this with this and we may get some major changes. My copium levels are starting to rise. And it's now a little bit similar with the perk rebalance. I was saying that you're not going to do a major gearing rework if you've just changed your perks. You're not going to just change your perks and then do a major gear change. Like, that wouldn't make sense. But what you could do is do them at the same time. And that's sort of what it sounds like, because there will be some major changes to gearing in Season 3 with the gear score increase. Boys and girls, I am getting excited. The gearing system in New World is junk. I don't like the crafting. I don't like the ward system. I don't like the majority of the gearing system in New World, but we could be getting a radical change to that. They're using the word major, and I'm going to believe them. And it makes sense to combine it into one gear disruption. You don't want multiple. You don't want people to like have gear upheaval and then have gear upheaval again. They should not do that. They should do one big change, and it should happen with the expansion. Everybody will feel a little bit better about it if it's all getting sort of wiped, but it's all getting wiped for a good reason. I know some people will be like, I want to keep my gear. The game's going to have been out for like 2 years. Also suggests that the release of Season 3 will actually be October. Anybody following along with that? I think it's going to come out in October, unless it gets delayed. But then the question there is, isn't that the same time as Throne of Liberty is expected to release? Maybe. But overall, I appreciate that they do try and answer these questions and stuff like that. don't really like the Discord layout. I think it's a little bit weird, but I like what I see. The company progression system, that sounds really interesting. And they'll combine the company progression system with a company housing system. Yes, that sounds great. The invasion changes, yes, but it's not something I really strongly care about because I don't really do them. The longer storyline, as long as it's a good story, I'll be happy if it's a bit longer. Overall, really positive stuff. I think we're probably going to have like a very quiet month for New World going forward. But then my personal prediction is that in June or July, we will see a trailer for the expansion. Sort of feel like it's going to come at Summer Games Fest on the 8th of June. I will be live streaming that and we'll be getting our copium levels very, very high. So I think we're going to have a little quiet period and then things are really going to truly kick off. And I'm hoping they'll all be positive. If you want to follow that journey, then make sure you subscribe. If you want to really support the channel, you can become a YouTube member or Patreon. Or you can come and hit me up over on Twitch where I'm streaming quite a bit recently. What I hope you definitely do though is have a most beautiful day. Like and subscribe. Goodbye.